And getting ready. Almost there. Here we come. Ready. Welcome to the show, everybody. It's a hair down kind of a day. Increasingly, I've been wearing my hair up for the show just because it's getting big, kids. It's like, this business in the back situation, it's a lot. So it just, but it's I'm enjoying it. So the hell with it. Glad you kept the theme music. I did indeed. Welcome back to the show. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Glad you could be here. Let's see if my chat is up. It is up and running. Now, lots to cover today, not the least of which there is yet another, if I am not mistaken, yet another debate tonight. Is it the Carrie Lake one? There's one. Anyways, not that one matters. What's the other one? Shit, now I'm blitzing on it because they all run together. And some of them, I've been watching a bunch that already happened. And last night after we watched the Stacey Abrams thing, I think I'm spoiled. Like, it's going to be hard to see. It's a lot to expect everybody on the Democratic side to dunk on the Republicans so masterfully. Yeah, that's right. Florida. Rubio and Val Demings. Right. Hi. Good stuff. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Glad you could be here. Super fun. All right. So, yes. So, the Val Demings Rubio debate. I'll see if I can find a YouTube version of that one. It's so much better when they put it on one goddamn thing. Hold on. See if it comes up in the take on. Yeah, there's lots of ads on this matchup. Blah blah blah. Gonna happen. Isn't happening, but will happen. Kind of happening. We'll see. Fight Center set the debate 1 hour ago. They put it up there. It will come and happen. It's a short little thing. Okay. Is this are they set to square off? Is it set to square off audio? Hold on 1 second. Let me see if I can. Because it's a lot of local stuff. So, I'll find it. I'll find it as we go, because it doesn't start for a little bit. Anyways, welcome. It's like I've got a lot on my plate the next couple of days. So bear with me. Tomorrow I'll be doing the show from LA. Philip Ittner will be joining us via satellite from Kiev, where he is been lately listening to a lot of rifle fire as they have been shooting down these Shahed drones from Iran out of the sky with rifles. Kittens are eating right now. I just fed them right before the show, and they are going to their next home today. We only had them through the weekend. Now, I can only afford to have them through the weekend because I will keep one. And that's, in the immortal words of Clint Eastwood, man's got to know his limitations. So, yeah. You're depressed after listening to Ron on SJ, on Stuttering John. Ron who? Look, I don't know how many times I got to tell people this, but doom motivation doesn't work. It does not. Although I will say that, realistically speaking, the Republicans, even to the point where, like, the enthusiasm gap that's happening Democrat to Republican is the real news. Because Republicans are not lining up to vote. They are not, and they all have to vote on one day, and they are going to decide on the morning, and blah, 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 blah. Like, it's stupid. I'm not keeping Willow. I'm not keeping, I'm not any of them. I'm like, we're in danger of keeping Gizmo. It'll be a mistake. I'm just saying, not doing it. Chat room. By the way, that's me looking at the chat. That's me looking at my software, and this is me looking at my clips. All right, so for eyeline, so we don't have to deal with the whole, and this is me standing, still doing the show standing. I'm still standing, doing my daily show. All right, now, by the way, welcome to people who used to watch The Daily Show and have moved over to me. A boy can dream, can he? It's the Hal Sparks Daily Show. It's Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide. I'm on every day. That counts as a daily show. Shit, I'm on twice a day, 3 times a week. Just saying. Imagine what I could do with a production team. Holy shit, can you imagine how tired I'd be if I was shooting sketches between shows? Which I absolutely would be. All right, now, I love the most recent poll where 80% of Americans hate political polls, but they answered it, didn't they? That's the irony. All right, so let's get started. First of all, you've heard of Jews for Jesus. You've heard of blacks for Trump. You've heard of nukes for toxic Avengers. I don't know. Whoops. Oh, God damn it. My little screen thing is doing it again. Why does that happen? It's like this weird little reset that it wants to do every goddamn time. For god darn. Who is it, Mr. Singlenden? All right, I got to fix this one thing. And then go back. And then with the thing. And then we go to here. And we open that up. And we go to this then. And we go to here. And then we go done. And then we're good. And then I transition. And we're rock solid. We turn that off. Ta-da! Okay, you've heard of Jews for Jacob and Christians for Soft Rock? I don't know, whatever. Catholics for Catholics is a great organization. And finally, I know what you're thinking. That's what everybody say. Finally. Right. There's finally an organization of Catholics for Catholics. And apparently someone who is going to jail, is jealous of Biden's uplighting from the other night and gave this fucked up speech. I don't know. This is, and there's his, if only he had magnet teeth. These are very strange. All right.
Moving gears to, you thought you knew everyone on the schedule.
No, you don't. Especially this young whippersnapper. What's your name, little fella? Are you getting extra credit for this?
Gotta have surprises, right? God of surprises.
I would be surprised if you weren't doing this in a bunker.
So we have a surprise guest who was not supposed to be coming.
He was not supposed to be here, but now he's here, and we have to let him speak. Oh, it's quiet.
About it, and I'm personally grateful because there was an event a month ago in California. It was an event to help Mark Fincham out, and I got the lucky.
I'm going to assume that he speaks a little louder than this dude.
Sit next to this individual, and I thought I'm going to have a conversation. I sat down next to him.
Great story.
Hillman.
Yeah, move on. It's Steve Bannon, by the way. Super exciting. All right, look how excited they are. All 37 of them.
I figured any place that had Flynn and Father Altman here.
It is probably going to stage some sort of attack on the local police.
Would allow me.
What he means is they have no standards. Literally. This prick cannot not shit on people.
Look, when I first heard about this, I said, obviously, if I can participate or somehow help out, I want to, because this is the most important voting bloc and driving force in the country, traditional conservative Catholics, right? So we have a big responsibility.
Turn the audio up.
3.5 weeks away from the most important midterm election.
By the way, we have our second Catholic president. Job done. Sit this one the fuck out.
Since 1862.
Since 1862, which is by the way, there's a picture behind me of Betsy Ross sewing, and that's the moment that she accidentally sewed it to her husband's leg. And boy, it was just that was an awkward horse ride. Right.
It's all on the line. Tonight, I want to talk about two towns first and to tell you what the challenge we have.
soap and lice combs that are too small. All right.
In Dearborn, Michigan, and General Flynn will understand this. In Dearborn, Michigan, there was a
man,
one of these school
and who had a pet horse, and a Catholic. To stop me if you've heard this one.
situations, right? School situation.
School situation.
Where the school is teaching, is pushing a radical gender ideology, right?
No, I think they're just accepting of people that might have an alternate view of their gender. Unless there's an entire class on how to change genders that's forced on students against their will. Right.
And around the nation, you've seen the moms. Some dads, but you've really seen the mom. And some,
yeah, it's mostly, I mean, obviously dads don't give a shit.
dads to the degree they can, but the moms really come into the school.
Yeah, the dads are busy being dads. You know, the moms are really the ones that show up. He means the Karens.
School boards and stood up and said, we're not going to tolerate this. In Dearborn, women didn't show up.
Dear God. The dudes did. Are you sure?
500 men.
Did you check? Were any of them wearing kilts? I'm just considering it was a radical gender ideology. Had they all been through the class? Maybe these were women forced to be men by the school district, or they weren't allowed. Again, I don't even know what they're applauding.
All Muslim. They said, we're not going to tolerate this.
Yeah, and that's weird. Because usually Muslim men are open to LGBT issues.
You're not going to do this to our kids. You're not going to sit
They're not doing it to, never mind.
there and teach this radical ideology and destroy our families.
That's our job.
And you know what? The school board's backing off, right?
Yeah, they've decided to go with Sharia law. Fuck! This is not, yeah, it's a Justin. Again, these are serious issues. These are inserious people. Don't expect me to talk seriously about this dumb fuck. Or even believe that this story actually happened. 500 Muslim men marching on a school. Get the fuck out of here. And then they're like, oh shit.
But
we're gonna stop our gay straight alliance because it's a violation of Sharia law. That's the
it
idea.
shows you how they're saying, no, we're not going to let you do this, right? We're not going to let you do this. Where else around the nation are we seeing that?
Iran, no.
We're seeing moms, very brave moms, but we feel constrained.
Because as he feels constrained as a mom.
Feel like we can't do that.
Yeah, he's like, as a mom, I can't do that. And
we feel like that's the public square. We can't go there.
It is the public square.
Right? We're going to have to go there. This war.
You're all going to have to become Muslim men. Ma'am, I'm very sorry.
Look, I'm a finance, in the people that watch the War Room, economics, capital markets, geopolitics, hardcore.
Garbage. I don't know, where the fuck does that come from? I'm a finance. He came up in school around rich people and had them finance shit through him. He used his connections that he lucked into. He's not a fucking go-getter and a door knocker. Get the fuck out of here.
Politics. Sometimes very hardcore smash mouth politics, right?
Well, I mean, potty mouth politics, I would say, which is fucking terrible.
Did I ever mention there's no substitute for victory?
No, thanks for bringing it up. I'm sorry, I don't know if I can handle just how macho this is. Yeah, it's Smash Mouth politics. What was their big hit? Who did Smash Mouth vote for the last time? I'm pretty sure Yeah, I'm pretty sure Papa Roach might have. I know Three Doors Down voted for Trump.
Right? There's no substitute for victory.
Well, sure there is. There's second place and breaking the record next time. There's also defined victory. And by the way, tell Trump that.
And I keep telling people it's not my line of country. But we had Dr. Grossman on today and some other people on the show today.
Yeah, they know. They all watch.
We're going to have some more tomorrow. It's
it's on every day until you go to jail.
we had the individual from Tennessee that had led a rosary and led a prayer group in March of 2021, and the FBI just showed up to their house last week. Jackbooted FBI.
Yes, they just arrested him for being Catholic in the United States of America because Muslims have taken over Michigan. I don't know what the fuck.
To arrest all 11 of them on a misdemeanor. Except, by the way, no
Misdemeanor what? Assault charge.
contact from March of 2020, and they were sitting right there. You've seen them before, praying the rosary, right? For the women going in there, praying the rosary. No assault.
No assault since May.
Not even the trumped-up charges in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, not even.
And no contact since March of 2021. In fact, the police came, and one of the younger people were blocking the thing, got up. They prayed with the police officers. Everyone, March of 2021. They show up last week at the one individual's house, the leader. I think his name is Vaughn.
The leader.
11 or 9 or 10 FBI agents, up-armored, guns drawn, all of it.
Again, I'm going to go with gibberish until proven otherwise.
On a misdemeanor charge.
Misdemeanor assault charge.
Charge.
Misdemeanor assault charge.
A misdemeanor charge. Never.
A misdemeanor assault charge.
However, when they got to the court, the Justice Department, Merrick Garland, had added on a conspiracy charge. That's a felony with 10 years in prison for saying.
Oh, so they were picked up for a felony assault charge. It is a civil rights violation. So they've been busted for a civil rights violation, which, for the record, think of all the times when people have violated people's civil rights. Steve Bannon thinks that should be fine.
In the rosary.
Oh my God. What your thoughts on Breanne destroying the Ashley Babbitt's memorial flowers and live streaming it after yelling it at someone's face? Breanne who? After yelling in someone's face that she hoped worms are eating her eyes? I don't know who Breanne is. You don't do that about dead people anyways. I mean, she was shot as an attacker, but she wasn't like somebody was pulled over with a dead kid in her trunk. Calm the fuck down.
Your FBI. When I was a little kid, Flynn was.
You were never a little kid, Steve. You were always a big kid, still wearing the same outfit.
Was an altar boy when we were little kids.
Yeah, that's good. A fuck the altar boys joke at the Catholics for Catholics joke. It's an inside joke. Inside your brother.
I'm older than Flynn. I was a Latin altar boy. I think Flynn was too.
All right, gibberish.
No, the general remembers this. When we were younger, in my parish, we had a couple of field agents at the FBI, right, had gone to law school or county school at the time, which you had to, or at Catholic college. I think they went to Fordham. These were revered individuals. It's not the FBI today.
Those guys, were those the guys that didn't stop the Catholic schoolboy abuse? Maybe you respected them because they left the priests alone?
It's not the FBI today. Let me tell you.
By the way, I just like you, I'm getting bored of this as well.
So you got the Muslims are standing up.
And the Catholics are standing up. What the fuck is wrong with you people?
For what they believe, and they will not back down, and nobody's going to back them down.
Yeah, they are. I mean, they're going to have to abide by the nation's laws, period. They don't get to discriminate. I mean, arguably, look, I know he wants to get back to a time when Jews can't go to Mar-a-Lago anymore, but it's not going to happen.
Right? Nobody's going to back them down.
Yeah.
Right there. Thank you very much. The other town is, have you noticed, and you talk about the church and the infrastructure and all this versus
I also don't know where he's going.
the more traditional Catholics,
Oh, by the way, this Beverly, don't take what he's saying about Muslims or Catholics seriously. This is an inserious human being, please.
have, and I don't want to rank order.
Oh, fuck him. Anyways, this is, I just want to show you guys this uplighting. This is a half hour long, and I'm already bored. And they were super excited that he was coming in. Like, this is just a blather. Now, if I may, on to our actual programming tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, we have, there's a few people that become in some ways in their own ways, semi-regulars on the show. Those that, that are such assholes that they're just the gift that keeps on giving. And one of those people is, of course, the most miserable man on the internet, Greg Kelly. Ladies and gentlemen, Greg Kelly, for those of you that are just joining us, is on Newsmax. His dad was chief of police, I believe, in New York City at one point. Greg toyed with running for office in August and changed his Twitter handle to make his dad's first name, his middle name stand out on there, so he could run as G. Francisco Kelly or whatever the fuck his dad's name is. That guy kind of thing. All right. So, yes, girls, Bongino, Brand, yeah, there's a whole run. We'll get to him in a second. But Greg Kelly, he, more than even the Trump kids, will throw himself in front of Daddy Trump if anyone threatens him. If anyone dare question his alpha male status. Greg Kelly didn't open his nightly show quoting Donald Trump as Donald Trump plays, talking over him with every gesture for months on end to try and get Trump reinstated somehow magically through some sort of force of will version of The Secret, to let Nancy Pelosi say something mean about him. Not going to happen. So here is Nancy's ready for the spotlight. Is this and this is based on, I think, because I don't pre-watch these things. I'm not going to torture myself. You out of your fucking mind? Greg Kelly, I got to back this up a little bit, is doing the same line, I think, judging from this, that Don Jr. was doing yesterday.
Lights, camera.
Holy shit, it's loud. Sorry.
Nancy, you know those movie clicker things?
Yes, we do. In real show business, I've seen a lot of those. In your show, they just go, "You're on." I got to bring the gain down on this mother. This is totally unnatural. Hold on one second.
On January 6th, when democracy was hanging by a thread, Nancy Pelosi was starring in a movie.
Yeah, she was apparently the gag is that while Trump had a documentary crew following him around, that's fine. That's clearly necessary. It's like, because who's going to refill Greg Kelly's spank bank? Meanwhile, if Nancy's being filmed and that they start literally, on the day that Trump gets kicked to the curb, that they want to document this, and she's the Speaker of the House, and her daughter's, I think, filming it either on her phone or a camera. Yeah, it was her daughter. Exactly, Erica. But good Lord.
Kidding. A documentary crew led by her own daughter was there.
So she's, it's like more insider trading.
Filming away. I saw this yesterday, it looked like two people arguing with a pizza guy about a late delivery. But
that was the sketch on SNL about the two of them. He's just referencing it and taking their joke.
But it was actually a part of a major film project. Cameras were with her all day long.
On the day that Trump ceased to truly become the president.
I think they were tipped off, maybe by Nancy. You think that something really big just might happen?
Yes, the vote that made Joe Biden the president and ended Trump's political career forever. I would argue that they're pretty sure they knew that was a big day, even without an attack.
I mean, why follow Nancy Pelosi around?
Because she's the female Speaker of the House and the crew was her mom, and she's the first female Speaker of the House
Ever. Well, it turns out Nancy Pelosi's daughter, Alexandra Pelosi, is something of a documentary filmmaker, meaning she...
Weird. What a great opportunity. Person on television with no qualifications for having a television show on Newsmax.
She makes movies that...
Honest to God, what the fuck are Greg Kelly's? I mean, like you can criticize me doing my show, arguably because I'm a comedian and an actor and a musician. What the fuck do I know about politics except that I'm always right? But I'm at least doing this out of my office. I'm not on a network or I would say Newsmax alleged network, right? Doing the show. I haven't been handed a show by Newsmax to fill, he used to have a good period of time, and then they gave it to Greta Van Susteren because she has a career in something. She's at least a lawyer.
People don't want to see and would never pay for.
Says the guy who literally got bumped by Greta Van Susteren.
Made her name in the industry back when she followed George W. Bush around in 2000 when he was running for president.
So she does political documentaries, it would seem. And so that's more important. I guess, well, technically speaking, what was the crucial part of George W. Bush? Was that our first son of a former president that was president? And who was also oddly named after the king we were fighting against in the revolution? Weird, I know.
When George W. Bush announced that he was running for president, I packed my bags and left my home in New York City to join the Bush Traveling Press Corps. See, that's me reporting for duty in Iowa on my way to my first Bush interview.
Not that bad. Miss Pelosi, how are you?
Hi.
I didn't get a chance to officially introduce myself to you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
I've
you.
always liked your stylishness.
Alexandra's really good with the camera work and frame.
Jesus Christ. The Adams? That's true. That's true beef. Sorry. But yeah.
And cinematography. Where the hell is George W. Bush? Anyway,
that's not a sit-down interview. They happened to have the camera on. They decided to use the first time they met as part of it because they had it.
somehow she gets by as a filmmaker.
I don't know. Somehow you get by as a asshole. Anchor. What is actually Greg Kelly's? I mean, is he? He's a Newsmax host. Although host is a lot because he doesn't really have people on that often. And just because you interview someone doesn't make you. I mean. Is he an accidental YouTuber? Is that what this is? Thank you, Bald Thanos. Can I grab the Tom kitten, please? Very possibly. I will post the information for the adoption. We'll see what we can do. But that would be lovely. You would not be the first in the jalapeno / sparkler crowd to actually get one of the cats. That's been an ongoing thing.
It does have a lot to do with her last name, Pelosi.
Not at the time.
And on January 6th, she was there with her mom, capturing all the drama.
We're getting a counterpoint that is, it could take time to clean up the poo-poo that they're making all over them, literally and figuratively in the Capitol.
Nobody's listening to her. Notice? She's talking.
No, she's specifically talking to someone off that way. And then watching what's going on and then relating it to the camera. Unlike Greg Kelly, who I'm pretty sure I'm his only audience. They have a bot farm that does views on his channel. But those are just a line of phones in India that play these clips over and over again.
Talking to herself, and it's gibberish. There's more.
Why is it gibberish? She's saying it's going to take time for them to clean up the shit in the building, literally and figuratively, because these Trump idiots shit in the fucking offices.
Hi, Mr. Vice President? Hi, yeah, we're okay. We're here with Mr. Schumer, Mr. McConnell, the leadership, House and Senate. And how are you? Oh my goodness, where are you? God bless you.
January.
Yeah, what a horrible, horrible woman. Speaking to the opposition vice president in the middle of an attack on the Capitol, and she says, God bless you. What a disgusting filth, flarn, filth. What a horrible woman, honest to God. And to think she's, I think, Catholic.
January 6th, where were you? Nancy was on the phone, but
Talking to the vice president of the United States of America, you dumb fuck. What was she supposed to do? Semaphore? They couldn't be near fucking windows because Trump fans had shown up with long rifles. There were armed guys in the fucking trees. What is this? Why does he think this is a dunk?
watch. Now she's really going to start making decisions.
We've gotten a very bad report about the conditions of the House floor with defecation and all that kind of
Oh, Donna, thank you so much.
thing. Okay, and that calls back. Okay, I worry about you being in that Capitol room. Don't let anybody know where you are.
All right. The decision she made was to eat a Slim Jim.
Jesus fucking Christ. What is this? Everyone knows that it is traditional to fast during an insurrection. It's important because obviously, you know, a moment on the lips, an eternity on the hips. What the shit is this asshole talking about? This is, I have to kind of congratulate Greg Kelly, because this is even dumber than Don Jr.'s take. That was, because she was eating, they had snacks in the building. They're hiding. What the fuck? This asshole won't even let people sit in his recliner in his office. Remember how angry he got because Sean Spicer sat in his chair and took a selfie in it? What is this?
Did you see that? Is that?
Yes, we saw her eat. Who gives a shit? What I'm shocked at, I gotta say, the really shocking thing about this is you getting shocked at that. Like, that's the amazing thing. Like, watching a grown man give a fuck. By the way, there's a lot of this footage. Take that particular shot and go, oh God, dear God. Oh dear God. Oh dear God. And she's eating it. I want licorice as well. Thanks for bringing it up. Black licorice, which is the only kind of licorice. If it doesn't have an anise in it, it's not licorice. Don't get me started.
That natural. I don't take her for a beef jerky person.
What the fuck? He thinks she's posing as a beef eater on fucking camera. She's eating beef jerky to appear macho right before she's. So let's just sum up. Nancy Pelosi in an office says poo-poo instead of shit, and then eats a beef jerky and says she's going to punch Trump in the fucking face. And apparently that crosses the macho line. How dare this woman move into the man zone? How dare she? Yeah, Greg Kelly is literally the pettiest human being on the fucking planet. Good Lord.
And I say that as a beef jerky person. This is...
All right. I say that as a beef jerky person. Okay, first of all, Slim Jims aren't beef jerky, fuckhead. They aren't. They're dry sausages. It's totally fucking different. The jerky and sausage are they're just totally different processes, much less. Secondly, fuck you. What? And I say this as a Randy Macho Man Savage fan. Greg Kelly doesn't have what it takes to eat a Slim Jim. All right.
Bizarre footage.
But you're picking pieces of it out and getting weird about it. The only bizarre footage in this whole fucking clip is you talking, you fucking tool. Oh my God, this is amazing.
CNN is acting like it's important that somehow we're learning about the insurrection and democracy and what a hero she is. That's what they're really saying about this.
I think that this documentary footage is so valuable on so many levels, historically, as well as setting the record straight, because you may remember there were all sorts of right-wing hosts who tried.
She doesn't mean you, Greg Kelly. No one considers you a right-wing host. They just consider you a dipshit on Newsmax at literally the lowest viewing hour in the entire day, including the middle of the night.
Tried to pivot away from Donald Trump's complete abdication of any sort of responsibility to, well, what was Nancy Pelosi doing that day? Where was she?
And now we know.
She was on the phone with the vice president eating at the same fucking time. Is he going to say she was eating?
She was eating beef jerky in a conference room, talking on the phone.
To the vice president.
Okay, history.
Jesus Christ.
He has been set straight. This is all utterly bizarre. And
you are, honest to God, like, can you imagine locking in on this? This is like when Bongholio goes on his, like, word fixations, where he keeps saying, like I said, dumb word that I fixated on the drive in. I didn't even have time to plan this. But I just keep saying, this is dumb word. I'm just gonna repeat dumb word, and we'll throw it up there. What I just show you, I say it again, dumb word. Whatever the fuck he gets, like, psychologically locked on. What a dick.
And now it's about to get a bit more bizarre-er.
He's a professional broadcaster with a grasp of the English language. Bizarre-er. It would be more bizarre. Dumb fuck.
The video that you guys played showing the congressional leaders and their actions on January 6th, it was clear to me that Donald Trump was not the commander-in-chief on January 6th. Nancy Pelosi was the commander-in-chief on January 6th with the assistance of congressional leadership, people like Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell. But Donald Trump failed in his oath once again to the American people, and he's
so far, agreed.
Certainly failed the law enforcement agencies that were defending the Capitol.
By the way, Greg Kelly doesn't think he's a real cop, and he also thinks that any police officer that has post-traumatic stress or cries is not a real cop. Meanwhile, Greg Kelly was never a fucking cop.
From a riotous group of his supporters.
Michael Fanone, you failed.
Yes, you, single man against hundreds of people. You failed. While Greg Kelly was, I don't know, spanking it in his easy chair at Newsmax headquarters.
You and those law enforcement agencies, yes, on January 6th. It's not President Trump's job to go down to this hallway and find out why these cops are just standing there.
I'll tell you exactly why. It's not even a question. They didn't have enough cops, so they started diverting people through parts of the building that they had secured and were separated from the rest of the building. So they have these big blast doors and other shit, so they could close those things and then go, yeah, here, you guys come on in here. Go right down that hallway. Yeah, knock yourself the fuck out. Yeah, head out that way. And then they dumped them out the side of the fucking building. And all of those assholes found themselves either walking in a fucking circle and back out the way they came, or out the other side of the building into a side parking lot. That's what happened. That's what fucking happened. There's not even a question about it. That's what they were doing. That's what you do. If your dam cannot hold the floodwaters, you use diversion gates. That's how it works. There were not enough cops to fight them all off. So some of the cops were like, go that way. Hey, man. Yeah, you guys. Oh, totally. You're good. Come this way. Yeah, you're good. Go in here. Yeah, come in through this door. Absolutely. Follow that guy. And then there's somebody in the hallway going, right down there. You guys want to take a look? Yeah, it's down that way. Oh, yeah, I'm totally on your fucking side. The fuck out of here. And then these assholes are like, wait a minute, I'm in the parking lot again. It's like Spinal Tap.
When people walk on in, it's also
to a dead end in the building.
Not the president's job to figure out.
By the way, notice how they cut that to make it look like those guys came in, they were allowed in. This fucker was not allowed in. He was behind the pushing group. He came in on the backs of assaulted police officers. He wasn't waved in, and look at the fucking edit. Never mind the fucking edits that he put on the Nancy Pelosi stuff to kind of isolate this, but fuck you, dude. Literally, watch this shit. Hold on, let me back this up real quick. Watch this dickhead. See that? In through here. That now, there's no horn guy, blah, blah, blah. He went in through the other steps. Remember, he was guided in through the front. This is a totally different part of the building.
It's also not the president's job.
Look at that. They just make a cut that makes it look like that's what was at the top of those fucking stairs. It wasn't. I've been in that fucking building. I've been in a lot of places in that fucking building.
Figure out why that Capitol Hill cop is escorting the horns guy.
He's not escorting him. He's watching him.
Right into the Senate chamber. You want to go behind?
Because he didn't want to shoot anybody in the House chamber, I believe.
Behind that desk.
Or this might be the Senate chamber. You're right. So where they weren't doing the actual counting.
Sure. Knock yourself out. I'll even take a picture of you.
Right. So the actual electoral stuff happens in the House side. They let these assholes into the Senate side.
All right. Back to Nancy. We have to remember what an oddball she is.
Oh, my God. What the fuck? Why are you not eating beef jerky right now?
All right. Quick review. Remember when she stood up behind President Trump and destroyed government property?
That's not government property. It's her copy of it. There's no destroyed government property of it. Jesus Christ. Trump would hold on. Jesus Christ. Like, I don't even begin to, let's say, hold on. That's government property. That's presidential records. Her copy of it is meaningless. They don't store them all. They get thrown out. Meanwhile, Trump was tearing up actual documents and flushing them down the toilet.
It's kind of amazing. There she is doing it on national television. What they accuse Trump of doing, she's doing, and everybody can see it, and nobody calls her on it. How about...
You just did. Well, that's true. You're a nobody. Good point. Touche. Points, Greg Kelly.
During COVID, when everybody was shut down, wearing masks, staying inside.
Yes, and everybody
goes out to the beauty parlor.
Everybody in the place is wearing a mask except her. She just had her fucking hair washed.
Right in the middle of it, you see that guy's wearing a mask.
Right.
She's not. In September of 20, just getting her hair done.
Yes, everyone's wearing a mask except her.
Obsession
And
she has with ice cream. I mean...
Obscene obsession she has with ice cream? What the fuck is wrong with this dude? What? I thought this was a Joe Biden talking point. Wait, is she standing in front of San Francisco ice cream companies?
I think she has a problem.
Oh, fuck you.
And the in-your-face kind of, I'm powerful, you're not, I'm going to Taiwan, I don't care what the State Department says.
She's going to get us into World War III. She's being mean to China. Obviously, thank God, China has Biden in their back pocket, so they didn't even have to worry about it. They weren't even offended. It wasn't even a big fucking deal because they're like, dude, we've got Biden and Hunter in our back pocket. Don't even worry about it. This is just for show. We don't have to overreact at all.
And I'm bringing my 50-something-year-old son with me. Yeah, what was this guy doing there?
Standing, it looks like.
Attending meeting after meeting. I mean, I think they might be following the Hunter-Joe Biden playbook. What do you think?
Oh yeah, what businesses is being done in Taiwan? What do you think? See, the problem Greg Kelly has right here is that he can't venture into this zone around Taiwan. There is no Hunter Biden playbook in this regard. He can't even venture into this without pointing out the fact that we are reshoring chip factories in the United States, and TSMC, the Taiwanese semiconductor company, is bringing one of their big factories to Arizona. Yeah.
And of course, let's not forget about her husband, who was recently in a very mysterious car accident. And
it wasn't mysterious. He was drinking and driving and he crashed his fucking car and he got a DUI. As you do.
And, on January 6th, not only was her daughter, Alexandra, there, but so was this guy. His name is Paul. It's Nancy Pelosi's son-in-law. What the hell was he doing there on January 6th? All this to say...
Filming outside. She's filming stuff. They're filming stuff at the rally. And then he followed this dude up there. And everybody interviewed Antlers guys.
Say that Nancy has problems.
Secret Service said they have dissuaded him from coming to Capitol.
Wait, hold on. Nancy loves the limelight. Everybody says Nancy has problems, and this is the clip they're cutting to show that everybody says Nancy has problems.
They told him they don't have the resources to protect him here. So at the moment he is not coming, but that could change.
Oh, he comes, I'm going to punch him out. This is my mom.
I would pay to see
I've
that.
been waiting for this, for trespassing on the Capitol grounds. I'm going to punch him out and I'm going to go to jail and I'm going to be happy.
That's a big problem, actually.
She is instigating violence in a... This is dangerous. This kind of rhetoric is, I'm just saying, not only am I lactose intolerant, so every time she even mentions ice cream, but this is an issue.
To me, this is evidence that this was a setup.
This is evidence that this was a setup, that all these maggots just showed up on the stairs and Nancy Pelosi's just sitting there with a fucking worm on a hook, just bloop, just trying to get Trump to come down there so she could punch him in the fucking face.
I've been waiting for this.
I've been waiting for a girl like you.
And I'm going to punch him, but I've been waiting for this.
Yes, she hates the dude. He's a pussy-grabbing, disgusting fucking pig. He's gross. He's a smelly, ridiculous, lying asshole. And now he has set his followers loose on the Capitol, and tensions are a little high. Now, Greg Kelly, the only danger he's ever been in was when there were credible sexual assault charges against him, and his dad made him go away. Allegedly.
This is incriminating evidence.
And her own daughter filmed it. What are the odds? How did she even think it? Why didn't they burn this tape? Why didn't they get rid of it? Oh, God, this is, I don't know how.
I do believe.
Yes. Greg, you believe Trump's farts smell like s'mores.
And I agree with President Trump about this, lady.
Really? You agree with President Trump? When did this start?
That crazy.
He's going to say crazy Nancy.
Crazy Nancy. She is crazy. Crazy Nancy. Crazy as a bedbug. She's.
Mar-a-Lago has bed bugs, allegedly. Bedminster and the other the Trump hotels have had problems with it as well. I think it's just because he let Steve Bannon stay there, and I think it's actually scabies, but that's a conversation for another time.
Crazy as a bedbug. Crazy Nancy. I tell you what, I've been watching her, and I have been watching her for a long period of time.
That's not creepy or anything.
She's not the same person. She's lost it.
Yes, says Trump, who's really held it together.
Not only is she kind of crazy, I think she lacks integrity.
Yes, to eat a Slim Jim like that, I mean, you can tell. I mean, as you know, look, Greg Kelly knows what it's like to have a tiny cylinder of meat in your mouth, especially one that is basically orange in color. Okay, and so he can spot a faker, he can spot a poser. Nancy, he's got.
You know, Donald Trump, new to politics. He only served.
Yeah, he was president for 4 years, and he's still new to it.
One term in office. Nancy.
That's true.
Pelosi has been floating around politics her entire life, including her childhood. That's her as a little kid with her father, who was the longtime mayor of Baltimore.
And so her family's got a history of public service, and Trump has a generational history of self-service. What's your fucking point?
Here's Nancy Pelosi a few years later hanging around JFK.
Oh, gross. All right, this is going to be gross. It's coming. It's going to be gross.
I don't wonder anything.
Fuck you.
I'm sure everything was just fine. What I'm trying to say.
Jesus Christ. So Greg Kelly is insinuating that Nancy Pelosi fucked JFK when she was 16 and to get a career in politics. That's what we're supposed to take away from this.
Say is back then politics was a lot more secretive than it is today.
You're kidding, right?
When Joe Biden ran for the Senate in 1972, you know what was happening in America? J. Edgar Hoover was still the FBI director.
And that is Joe Biden's fault, okay? Joe Biden gets sworn in right after his wife and daughter die, and he didn't rush in there and get rid of J. Edgar Hoover
while he was campaigning. Isn't that interesting? It was a totally different world.
That's so odd. You know, when George Washington had wooden teeth. It was an entirely different orthodontal prospect back then. It was,
and all this secrecy.
It was pre-cotton gin.
Tolerated, although a lot of that stuff is coming back. Isn't it amazing? The left totally hated J. Edgar Hoover, and now the left totally embraces Jim Comey.
Jim Comey? Yeah, well, Jim Comey didn't bug MLK. And no, they don't. Like, in general, a lot of people are pissed at Comey for his little bullshit statement. And then, you know, where he was like opening up an investigation into Hillary again, which absolutely tossed the election to Trump. It was the single there's a bunch of shit happening, but Comey's little speech went a long way towards it. That's why Trump tried to recreate it with Zelensky.
And FBI leadership. We have come a long way. All right, back to the matter of honesty or lack thereof.
Of beef eaters.
Who remembers this on Inauguration Day from...
Is this going to be the whole, like, I promise to govern for everybody. I'm going to bring us all together. And meanwhile, Captain Division dickhead over here is going to go, do you feel unified?
Him.
Before God and all of you, I give you my word. I will always level with you.
Man, he did not have.
He's not leveling with us. He's not leveling, obviously, leveling with us. You know what that means? That means telling us what we want to hear, not what we need to hear. Okay? Did he learn nothing from the Trump years?
Have to bring God into it. He shouldn't have, because.
Yeah. Isn't God in everything? How do you not bring God into it?
He hasn't been. He hasn't been leveling with us.
Oh no! What has he been? It's not. It's the ice cream, isn't it? It's the fucking ice cream.
Big matters and small. This is actually pretty big.
Some of your Democratic allies on Capitol Hill are afraid that the U.S. got played when you went to Saudi Arabia and fist bumped with the Crown Prince, because now, obviously, a few months later, Saudi-backed OPEC is slashing oil production in partnership with Russia. Do you think it's time for the U.S. to rethink its relationship with Saudi Arabia?
Yes, and by the way, let's get straight why I went. I didn't go to one about oil. I went about making sure that we made sure that we weren't going to walk away from the Middle East and what was going on.
Everybody knew that oil was topic number one.
No, you guys all said it was topic number one.
Everybody knows we're not going to walk away from the Middle East as well.
Actually, we are, in large part. Yeah, that's kind of the point. It was basically, this is your last chance conversation. That's what it was.
He's lying. He's lying. After that.
Yeah, Greg Kelly was there. And remember, Greg Kelly, very importantly, Greg Kelly said that Donald Trump did not bow to the Saudis the way Obama did. And in some ways he's correct, because Trump curtsied. He literally went, look at this weird shit. Hold on one second. This little business right here. Hold on, I'll see if I can find the GIF of it. Yeah, here you go. This weird, like his little, like he thought nobody would notice. Boink, like that. Never mind the fact that, like, when he and Putin met, he comes in with his head fucking down like this. Yeah. He's lying, this guy. And I bet, like, his fucking ice cream thing.
That solemn promise before God. He's not leveling with us, and everybody knows it.
So dealing with really, really high gas prices. Saudi Arabia is one of the world's largest producers of oil. So there is some incentive for the president to perhaps make some headway on some sort of agreement that could lower the price of gas.
The president did leave with an expectation that more oil will be flowing into the market that could bring Americans some relief, but there was no firm announcement.
Yeah, because there was no firm conversation. The idea is like, look, we're coming over. We'll start business. You scratch our back. We'll scratch yours.
President Biden is.
Oh, it's debate time? Okay, hold on one second. Let me see if I can find the debate.
Heading
We're
home
almost done with
amid
this.
the fallout from his controversial trip to Saudi Arabia and that friendly fist bump with the Saudi crown prince, a country he once said he wanted to make a pariah, now at the center of the president's efforts to shore up global oil markets.
Okay. Also, by the way, that's news people saying it, not the administration saying it. And mainstream media, if I might add, that Newsmax tells you never to believe. I'm just saying. All right. Demings, Rubio debate. Watch live. Let's go here. Go to YouTube. Hold on.
Landfall in our country. Federal action starting now to protect Florida against sea level rise projected up to a foot in less than 30 years while these monster storms just continue to hit us.
And first of all, I also want to thank the college for hosting us here tonight, all of you for being a part of it, everyone for being here in the audience. This is important. I'm glad we have a chance to do it.
Okay, hold on, back up.
And 30 seconds to answer any follow-up questions. Rebuttals.
Here we go.
30 seconds in length and at my discretion as your moderator. Candidates, when you see the yellow light, you have 15 seconds to finish. The red light means exactly what you think it means. And I'll remind you that it means stop. Congressman Demings, you won the coin toss earlier this week. The first question tonight.
You get to drink the first small bottle of water.
Goes to you. 3 weeks ago tomorrow, Hurricane Ian hit Florida as one of the 5 most powerful storms to make landfall in the U.S. What federal action is needed starting now to protect Florida from sea levels projected to rise a foot or more in less than 30 years, while more frequent monster storms threaten our lives and livelihoods?
Well, thank you so much.
Hold on. By the way, state and local engineers working with the Army Corps of Engineers, putting up barriers in certain areas that are repeatedly hit by hurricanes to help us deal with the effects of beach erosion and climate change over time that have been shown to work in other countries. There's no reason why we can't do it here. It's a cheap solution. And we also need to shore up buildings that are close to those areas and provide people with a better early warning system. That's what I would do.
Much for that question. And let me say good evening to all of
And she's awesome.
you. Thank you to our panelists. Thank you to Palm Beach State College. It is an honor for me to be here. I stand on this stage as the daughter of a maid and a janitor who grew up in Florida. Had the honor of serving as the police chief in the House and now standing on this stage. I grew up in Florida, so I know all too well the devastating effects that hurricanes can cause on our state. And number one, we have got to get serious about climate change. Climate change is real. If we don't do something about it, then we're going to pay a terrible price for it. More intense storms like we've seen as the waters in the ocean continue to warm up, more intense storms, more flooding, more just devastation as we've seen with Ian. I've toured the area and I've toured Puerto Rico and seen what Fiona did. The federal government has got to make sure that FEMA has the resources that it needs to adequately respond, but we've got to get serious about climate change.
Thank you very much. Senator Rubio, same question as you. I'll repeat the question. It was 3 weeks ago tomorrow, Hurricane Ian hit, one of the 5 most powerful hurricanes to ever make landfall in our country. Federal action starting now to protect Florida against sea level rise projected up to a foot in less than 30 years while these monster storms just continue to hit us.
And first of all, I also want to thank the college for hosting us here tonight, all of you for being a part of it, everyone for being here in the audience. This is important. I'm glad we have a chance to do it. You ask about the hurricanes. Unfortunately, if you're in public service in Florida, you won't be here long before you're dealing with hurricanes, and we've done so consistently throughout my time in public service. And unfortunately, back in 2017, we had
Boo-fuckity-who.
devastating storms, 2018 as well, and now the devastation and destruction that we're still calculating. I outlined last week a very specific plan, obviously it's preliminary, on all the sorts of things that we're going to need help on. These communities
Why would it be preliminary if you've been at this for never mind.
Immediately need emergency relief. What's happening for a lot of these cities and counties is they have to spend a lot of money up front. Money out of their budgets they have to spend right now to pay for these things, and then they get reimbursed.
And people like Rand Paul stop federal funds. All right.
And so that's why I'm very proud that in 2017 and again in 2018, I was able to get President Trump and the federal government to fully reimburse our counties for the help they needed. But we'll have to do more. There'll be 2 phases. The first is emergency response, meaning all the things you need as an emergency to help these counties back.
Oh, I see. Emergency response is the things you need for an emergency. Good. Okay. Someone writing this down.
Fill their needs. And then there'll be the long-term recovery. And I'm very proud of the fact that I was involved deeply in all the long-term recovery efforts of
He was plowed deeply.
the last storms as well.
All right, that's time, sir. Thank you.
Okay. For the record, if you're on a coastal state, here's how you answer that question. not only do we need emergency response from the federal government to shore up local efforts, and we need a senator who will work hand in glove with FEMA and that knows the area and can bring help specifically, but we also have to take preventative measures both in how we respond to the climate overall, but also how we take care of our coastal regions that are going to be impacted by these kind of things. Especially, we can look to history and we can look to science to know where the biggest impacts are going to be and do everything we can to physically shore up those areas.
We're going to move on to question number 2. And Senator, this question.
And by the way, big fucking deal is the senator from Florida accepted federal aid and asked for it. What are you fucking talking about?
It begins with you. Democrats passed the $2 trillion American Rescue Plan with no Republican support. Now inflation rates, not seen in 40 years, show no clear sign of abating. Prices for just about everything, housing, gasoline, groceries, are way up. A Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco analysis shows injecting trillions of dollars in pandemic relief into this economy caused up to 3% of what is approaching a 9% U.S. inflation rate. And it's worse in Florida. What can you do to help families?
First of all, Florida was fucking open a lot during this time. Why the fuck would it make it worse there? Secondly, no.
Families now.
Well, I think the first thing we have to start doing is stop spending that kind of money. We
have
already done 2 pandemic reliefs. This came on top of it.
We're not doing another one.
And they were warned. The Democrats were warned by Larry Summers, by other Democrat economists, you do this, you're going to fire up inflation. So that's number 1. Number 2 is we've got to begin to produce American oil again. Why are we begging Saudi Arabia for oil?
We aren't.
Why are we begging Venezuela and Iran for oil?
We aren't.
Producing 1 million barrels a day less on oil than we used to do just a couple years ago. We have instead,
because of labor costs.
We are depleting our reserves. Our oil reserves do not exist to win midterms. They exist to help this country in an emergency or in the
Yeah, this is an emergency worldwide because Russia's attacked Ukraine and has taken 5 million barrels a day off of the market. Never mind.
midst of a storm. What we cannot do is some of these crazy policies that are coming from the left that Congresswoman Demings has supported. You know, she supported a plan to put a $10.25 tax per barrel of oil, which would have been 35 cents per gallon more for everyone listening here today. We can't do that kind of crazy stuff. It only adds to the inflation. I think it begins by winning this election and getting people like that out of office.
You're in office, dum-dum.
And that's time. Congresswoman, the same question you may answer, but you have 60 seconds to answer this question.
Thank you so much for that. Of course, the senator who has never run anything at all but his mouth would know nothing about helping people and being there for people when they are in trouble. No one planned the pandemic, but our response to it is everything. Individuals were hurting, families were hurting, businesses were hurting. We passed the CARES Act, which the senator supported. There were some problems in the CARES Act with the Paycheck Protection Program that you love to take credit for. Some say it was poorly written. Some say it didn't help the people that it was supposed to, didn't save the jobs that it was supposed to. There was a way to fix the problems in the PPP through the American Rescue Plan and help people that were in trouble. But you played politics, Senator, and you did not do that. Your number one job as a United States Senator is to protect the health, safety, and well-being of the American people. You've been at it for 24 years.
Senator Rubio.
Yeah, a couple things. First of all, we passed the Paycheck Protection Plan when Democrats were sitting at home in the House. They were in their pajamas doing Zoom calls, and we were in the Capitol. And we were working in the Capitol to solve real problems. The Paycheck Protection Program was a
They're in their pajamas doing Zoom calls because there was a pandemic going on.
Partisan victory. If we hadn't put that plan together, and we had to do it very quickly in a Capitol that had no staff, we had to put it together in 3 or 4 days, bipartisan. It got unanimous support, including the Congresswoman who voted, I guess, remotely or whatever they did. Because the truth of the matter is that if we hadn't done that, we would have had a meltdown. We would have had a meltdown in this country. We saved millions of small businesses. I am incredibly proud. It is a bipartisan.
But I thought that we turned up the money printers.
Partisan achievement. Had we not done it, we would have had a depression in this country. The Congresswoman likes to talk about helping people. She's never passed a bill. She's never passed a single bill. She's been in Congress for over half a decade. She's never passed a bill, not PPP, not anything. Not a single bill she's passed has ever become law. I'm proud of the fact we saved millions of jobs.
Well, as a congressperson, she voted for stuff all the time that became law. What the fuck is she talking about?
Proud of the fact we did it in a bipartisan way.
That's not true. I know the senator, look, and I'm really disappointed in you, Marco Rubio, because I think there was a time when you did not lie in order to win. I don't know what happened to you. You know that is not true. My first term in the United States House, I passed legislation to help law enforcement officers with mental health programs. Your first term in the Senate, you voted to turn Medicare into, basically to abolish it, and then turn it into an underfunded voucher program. And then you gave the biggest tax break to the richest of the rich and said you'd pay for it with cuts to Social Security and Medicare.
Running out of time, I'll give you 30.
No, this is an important topic. So number one, and we'll fact check it. I'm going to put it on my website now, and all of you can love, the media loves to fact check. There is not a single federal law on the books that she sponsored and got passed. Not one. I think she named 2 post offices. I've done that too. But she's not passed a single federal law. That's
all right.
That's number one. Number two, in terms of the tax, you know what we did in 2017? Do you know why today in Florida and across the country?
Again, then the congressional aid for that, so she's voting for it or is co-signing on it, I guess. Co-sponsoring.
Working parents have a double child tax credit from what they used to have because I single-handedly got it passed. Because I took on my own party, even the editorial boards had to recognize it. I took on my own party and we doubled the child tax credit. And I took on my own party, the Wall Street Journal, even corporate interests. So I'm very proud of my record. In the last 12
you there, Senator.
Todd, may I respond to that?
Congresswoman, yes.
Look, the senator has obviously resorted to lying, cheating, and trying to steal. But it's embarrassing that you think that honoring a person who is a hero by naming a federal building after them is nothing. I think honoring a police officer who was killed in the line of duty is everything, Senator. It matters to his family. It matters to his community. It matters to his department. It matters to me. I think it's sad that it doesn't really matter to you.
Both of you, we need to move on.
I know, but I did not say it didn't matter. I said that that's all she's done. That's all I said. That's all she's done.
Well,
I,
you
on
said
the other hand,
it
have helped
doesn't
save
matter.
millions of
That point is
jobs.
made. We're going to move on.
And by the way,
that's not
the
true.
lying and the
How
cheating,
gullible
the lying
do you
will be
think
the
Florida
lying
voters
is
are?
now the lying is going to be fact
How
checked.
gullible do you
I'm not
think
sure where I'm
Florida
cheating or
voters
stealing.
are,
The next
Senator?
topic, and the question goes
How
to you,
gullible?
Senator.
All right, great.
All right, great. Fine then. Fine. Let's see. Hold on one second. So let's see. What he's referring to is that there's a bunch of 2021, 2022 Congress. She's got a bunch of stuff that she's co-sponsoring currently. Let's see. That here's what Val Demings has sponsored and co-sponsored. So these are what he means is nothing's become law yet. And she hasn't been around for a long time, but she's been a sheriff. So she's relatively new. She's like 1 term or 2 terms. Anyways, here's her main sponsored legislation, then her co-sponsor stuff. Number 1 is H.R. 9147. That's for this Congress to require the Secretary of State to submit an annual report to Congress regarding the ties between criminal gangs and political and economic elites in Haiti. Health Security and Countering Weapons of Mass Destruction Act, the Internet Freedom Rapid Response Act 2022, Oil and Gas Industry Antitrust Act, to amend the Middle Class Tax Relief and Job Creation Act of 2012 and reauthorize the First Responder Network Authority, Victim Act of 2022, DHS Basic Training Accreditation Improvement Act, the Homeland Security Capabilities Preservation Act, Reclaiming the Solar Supply Chain Act of 2021, Federal Disaster Housing Stability Act of 2021. There, by the way, a lot of these, something like that, for example, HR 5043, got basically enveloped into the greater rescue package. There's a resolution. She added an amendment. She made an amendment to House Amendment 234 An amendment numbered 4 printed on the to require a report of the available mental health and stress-related resources and programs that are available to law enforcement officers. The report shall include some additional legislative tools and authorities that may be helpful or necessary to assist in assessing, monitoring, and improving the mental health of law enforcement officers. This didn't have to be an act on its own. She got it put in as an amendment. That's what she's talking about. Fuck you, dude.
In an August interview, Senator, you said, quote, abortion is the killing of an unborn human being, and that you do not believe the dignity and the worth of human life is tied to the circumstances of their conception. You've now signed on to fellow Senator Lindsey Graham's bill for a national abortion ban. My question to you specifically is...
He means, by the way, no exception for rape and incest.
If reelected, if your vote can make a federal abortion ban with no exceptions the law of the land, will you vote yes?
Number one, I'm 100% pro-life, not because I want to deny anyone their rights, but because I believe that innocent human life is worthy of the protection of our laws. That said, every bill I've ever sponsored on abortion, every bill I've ever voted for, has exceptions. Every one of them does, because that's what can pass, and that's what the majority of people support.
That's what can pass. That's what the majority of people support.
Now,
so politics.
For us today in Congress that you talk about Lindsey Graham's bill, that's a 4-month ban. Okay? That is more lenient than every country in Europe, except for 2. The extremist on abortion in this campaign is Congresswoman Demings. She supports no restrictions, no limitations of any kind. She voted against she's against a 4-month ban. She voted against a 5-month ban. She supports taxpayer-funded abortion on demand for any reason at any time up until the moment of birth. That's what she supports. That's the extreme position here. I have shown a willingness to work with people to save unborn innocent human life. She opposes any limitation of any kind, and no one ever asks them about that.
Congresswoman Demings.
Senator, how gullible do you really think Florida voters are? Number one, you have been clear that you
She's using that line a lot tonight. That's going to be, yeah.
Even including rape and incest. Now, as a police detective who investigated cases of rape and incest, no, Senator, I don't think it's okay for a 10-year-old girl to be raped and have to carry the seed of her rapist. No, I don't think it's okay for you to make decisions for women and girls. As a senator, I think those decisions are made between the woman, her family, her doctor, and her faith. And to sit over or to stand over there and say that I don't support abortions up to the time of birth is just a lie. But to help protect the life of the mother, which you looked at that like it was just, that's kind of a side issue. Senator, you know that you have said you don't support any exceptions. But what you're saying tonight...
Yeah, number one, the bill that she's attacking me on has exceptions. It has exceptions. That's the bill right now. Number two, you want to talk about...
By the way, they didn't ask him if he would do that. The guy asked him if he would support a bill that would have no exceptions. Would you be the final vote on it?
Let me tell you about extreme, because you talk about extreme. Here's extreme. Okay, a child that's born alive after a failed abortion. It happened 11 times in Florida in 2017. It happened 8 times in 2020. A child on a failed abortion born alive. And we had doctors in America that refused to treat or provide medical care to a child born alive. And we tried to pass a law that said that should be a crime. That's infanticide. The abortion failed. The child was born alive and you refused to treat it. And she voted against that. That's how extreme she is. And she still will not tell you. You should ask her, what limits on abortion will you support?
Congresswoman?
What we know is that the senator supports no exceptions. He can make his mouth say anything today. He's good at that, by the way. What day is it and what is Marco Rubio saying? I've said time and time again, and he knows it, that I support a woman's right to choose up to the time of viability.
Senator, before we go, I want to get back to the original question, because I understand that you said you have supported legislation that has exceptions, and that this particular bill...
He's going to bring him back to the question.
...that Lindsey Graham has drafted and you signed on to does have that up to 4 months. But I asked you a specific question. That is, if you get the chance in another 6-year term to vote for a federal abortion ban with no exceptions, would you vote yes if it would make it the law?
No, listen, I've already told people what I don't believe that the value of a human life is determined by the circumstances
Right,
under which
I gave
but
that
the law
statement.
that can pass in this country, I'm interested in saving human lives. And that's why every law that's out there has exceptions, including the one that she's attacking me on has exceptions. Every law I've ever passed has exceptions.
He's dodging
We're
it.
never going to get a vote on a law that doesn't have exceptions, because that's what the majority of the American people are. And I respect and understand that. And that's what I support. But she still, you haven't asked her, no one here's asked her, she still won't answer what specific limits. She's never voted for a
She said choice to the point of viability. That's what she said.
Not after 4
answered
months,
that question.
not after 5 months. And by the way, on the issue of exceptions, I'm being attacked on a bill that has exceptions. It's written right in there. My name is on that bill. My name is on that bill. There's a reason why no bills are ever introduced without exceptions.
That was asked,
because that can't pass without that in there, and I understand and recognize it, and that's why I have continued to support bills that have exceptions. But she supports no limits of any kind. That is out of the mainstream. That is radical.
She said up to the point of viability, meaning whenever the baby can live outside the womb without being attached to the mother, that's viability. That's the natural standard. That's what most people use. It's like think of it as the preemie standard.
Supports letting a doctor let an unborn baby, a born baby born alive, and the doctor doesn't have to treat it?
That's time. Another minute to you, Congresswoman Demings.
Marco Rubio has been clear that he supports no exceptions, even in the cases of rape and incest. He said it time and time
and health of the mother.
Time again. But what I can say to him, and I can say to Florida, we are not going back, Senator, no matter how obsessed you are with the woman's body and her right to choose. We are not going back to a time where women are treated like second-class citizens or like property. And I'll say it again, because obviously he didn't hear or he doesn't want to. I support a woman's right to an abortion up to the time of viability.
So, can you ask if she'll support a 24-week ban? Will you support a 24-week ban?
She said viability. It's different for every baby. This is a math question about human life. That's how he thinks.
You didn't support a 20-week ban. You didn't support
up to the time of viability.
But when is that? That's the vague language they all give. And then they talk about the doctor and the.
Yes, because the doctor can tell you if the baby is viable. Because women are on a fucking clock.
Family. Let me tell you who else is in that room, that abortion room. The government is in that room because she brought them in there. She wants the taxpayer to pay for that abortion. That's government involvement. Not just to pay for that abortion, but to pay for them all over the world.
For a woman and our girls.
That's a radical.
I believe at this point we're going to move on.
My watch.
I'm going to ask that you both allow me to move on with this debate.
We still didn't hear what limits she supports.
Yes, we did. Twice.
This next question comes from Rick Christie, executive editor of the Palm Beach Post.
Good evening, Congresswoman Demings. Just today, a New York Times Siena College poll shows voters overwhelmingly believe American democracy is under threat. A Washington Post analysis shows election deniers are running for office in 48 of 50 states. The New York Times poll also shows more than 2 in 5 registered voters, including 37% of independent voters, are at least somewhat comfortable in voting for a candidate who says they don't accept the results of the 2020 election. Will you accept results of the 2022 election?
Let me start here, if I may. My mother, the maid and a janitor, worked long, hard days, but I can never remember a time they did not vote. If our car wasn't working, they would pay somebody a couple of dollars to take them to the polls. Why on earth would we try to stop them from voting? They were able to vote because of our democracy, the wonderful system of government that we have. No, it is not perfect. But our system of government is what allows us to be here tonight. We have to do everything within our power to uphold the Constitution, protect the rule of law, and protect our democracy, and protect each person's Republican, Democrats, and independents' right to vote. That's what I did as a police officer and a police chief. I took an oath that I would protect and serve, defend the Constitution, not just for people who looked like me or the richest of the rich, but for all people.
All right, Congresswoman, that's time. The same question goes to Senator Rubio.
Yeah, first of all, I don't know who the rich are, because my dad was a bartender at banquets and my mom was a janitor, so we have that in common. And I will tell you this much.
I'm rich now.
I've never denied an election, ever. I've never said an election. I'm not like Stacey Abrams in Georgia that denied her election. I've never denied an election. I think in
He picks a black lady. It's interesting.
Florida, I think in Florida, we have great election laws, but I think elections have to have rules. And Congresswoman Demings supported this effort to have a federal takeover of elections. What would that look like? You can't ask for ID. You have to ask for ID to get into her neighborhood where she lives, and that you have every right to have that. But you can't ask
private property.
Ask for it when they vote. Allow
It's a right, not a privilege.
people to drive around with a trunk full of absentee ballots. Allowing people to basically register on an hour before the same day of the election, show up and vote and inject chaos. We have to have rules and we have to have laws. And those laws have to be followed. Florida has good election laws. And we have record turnout, like they had record turnout in Georgia, which they were out there calling some sort of segregationist Jim Crow bill. No, these are rules. These are rules that allow people to have confidence that their vote counted and their vote mattered. They're not suppressing anyone's vote. They are rules designed to make sure the system works the way it's supposed to work.
Let me just get you on record here that you will support the results of the 2022 election.
We have great laws in Florida, absolutely.
But will you?
Sure, because I'm going to
All right,
win.
that's
So I
done.
look forward to supporting that. But
we're moving on.
But
he didn't, by the way, he didn't get her to finally answer it. She did not, I will say, she didn't actually say yes.
But yes, no matter what the outcome is, I'll support it because Florida has good laws. They're not the
Fair
crazy
enough.
laws
Let's
like
move
they
on
have
to the
in
next
Pennsylvania
question.
and these other places.
I'm going to Vicky Sashary from
These other
Return
places.
Magazine.
I don't think we gave Congresswoman Demings the.
I believe we're going to move on here to the next question, and that's
Okay.
Vicky's question.
He's right, though. She didn't actually say.
6 homeowners insurance companies have already failed in Florida in 2022, putting more pressure on Florida taxpayer-backed citizens' property insurance.
Who's breathing?
They're now insuring more than 1 million properties in the state and counting. As the insurer of last resort, the collapse of Citizens would be a catastrophe for Floridians. What should be done on the federal level to avoid this?
Who's the question for?
Senator Rubio.
I'm sorry. Okay, so obviously this is a state issue, but here's a couple things that I would say. The first, the flood insurance program, which is critical. A lot of the people that were hurt in the storm did not have flood insurance. Not only we have to go back and reauthorize it every year. We shouldn't have to keep going back every year. It should be permanent. We should also reform the system. Florida actually pays more into the flood program than it takes out. You talk about the property insurance issue. It is a state issue. The federal government, you don't.
On a yearly basis, because every couple of years it takes a shit ton out. That's not true.
Want the federal government involved in property insurance, believe me, okay? But I will say this to you. We are, I believe the number is about 8 or 9% of the roof claims in America. We are 83% of the roof lawsuits in America. And so what's happening to these insurers is the cost of litigation. They're saying, I'm out in Florida. And look, I worry about it. My property insurance is up at the end of this year. And other people should be worried about it because when your property insurance goes up, if you can't afford it or you don't have it, the mortgage company will force place you. And your mortgage could double. So we are facing a looming crisis. I think it's something the state has to get their arms around. But I am certainly in favor of not just reauthorizing, but reforming the flood program, separate from the wind, the flood program, and reforming it so that Florida's treated fairly.
Senator. Congresswoman, you have 60 seconds to answer this same question. Would you like it repeated?
No, I don't, but thank you so much. Vicki, let me tell you, as the senator works very hard to say it is a state issue, that doesn't mean at the federal level we should not care about what citizens in Florida are going through and try to do something about it.
Nice job. Really good redirect.
Marco Rubio has spent more time at the state level than certainly any person on this stage. So it's interesting to hear him say how that's such a state issue. Well, what in the heck did he do about it when he was the Speaker of the House or serving? He's been in elected office since 1998. And insurance in Florida has tripled. And people are suffering. I sent a letter to Governor DeSantis saying, yes, I know it's a state issue, but how can we work together to lower the cost of property insurance for Floridians? Because people are suffering. We got to prepare for the next hurricane. Are we going to wait and do nothing? I asked him to call a special legislative session to talk solely about this issue. We have got to get the property
Congresswoman.
insurance
Senator
down.
Rubio, I want to give you 30 seconds to rebut.
Well, first of all, when I was in the state legislature, if we want to go back to that, we actually had a special session, and we passed a reform. You know who the governor was at the time? Charlie Crist, your gubernatorial candidate. I think you've endorsed him. So you should ask him if it didn't work. But we certainly supported it, and we certainly made it happen. So that's number one. Number two, I would say that, trust me when I tell you guys, trust me when I tell you, a federal government that struggles to deliver the mail in a regular and consistent basis in parts of this country.
Oh, fuck you. Louis DeJoy.
You don't want him in charge of your property insurance. We would be the only state in the country that's asking the federal government to take over their property insurance. Look, do I care about the issue? Yeah, I care about the issue. I'm about to pay $8,000 or $9,000 a year more for
That's
property
the 30
insurance.
seconds. Thank you, Senator. We're going to move on to the next question.
It's a Margaritaville tax. Think of it that way.
This question goes to you, Senator. 5 days ago, the Parkland mass shooter who killed 17 people at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School avoided the death penalty. That shooter and the killer who took 8 lives at an Indiana FedEx facility last year were both 19 years old when they killed. The killers in this year's mass shootings in Buffalo and Uvalde, Texas were both 18. All used legally purchased AR-style rifles. In the nationally televised CNN town hall 3 days after the Parkland massacre, you said, quote, if you are 18 years of age, you should not be able to buy a rifle. I will support a law that takes that right away. Would you still support that federal law?
No, let me tell
Beto Rubio.
you why that law doesn't work and why that proposal doesn't work. We had a shooter last
Then why'd you say yes?
Thursday, tragic, in North Carolina. He was 15. Where did he get the gun? He didn't get it from a gun show. He certainly didn't buy it. He's 15 years of age. We've had shootings in the state. Pulse was a terrorist attack. A licensed security guard with a permit to carry firearms, extensive background check. The guy in Parkland, this killer, everybody knew who it was. Even before they announced who the person was, everybody in the community knew who it was because this guy had long problems. He'd been acting up for a long time and everybody knew it. And here's what happened. The sheriff did
So are you for red flag laws then?
nothing about it. The school district did nothing about it because they didn't want to arrest kids and fell through the cracks. Even the FBI cracks it fell through. So that's why
Kids is 19.
one of the first things I did when I got back to Washington is I sponsored a bipartisan red flag law, styled after Florida, not the crazy one they just passed, a real red flag law that would allow the police department to go before a judge and remove your guns if they can prove that you are a danger. The one they passed allows some coworker that doesn't like you to go to some liberal judge and take away your Second Amendment rights. So I think the solution to this problem is to identify these people that are acting this way.
Liberal Florida judges.
I want to stop you here, Senator, but before I go to Congresswoman Demings, I want to make sure that I understand that what you said in 2018 is not what you believe is the solution today.
I do not believe
there should not be a ban on
that
18 or 19 or 20-year-old
a
buying
15-year-old
rifles.
just got a gun, got a shotgun.
But
and
that's
killed a
one
bunch of
case.
people.
I just want to make
no,
sure.
it's more than one case.
But
one in Connecticut also involved the exact same thing.
We could do this all night, but I want to make sure that you don't support that anymore. It is an important point.
Denying the right to buy it is not going to keep them from doing it. Here's the fundamental issue. The fundamental issue is why are these kids, why are these people going out there and
Video games, obviously.
massacring people?
This is the
Because
same.
a lot of people own AR-15s.
Here's the thing. If they want to do it, it's one thing. It's very hard to deal with mental illness and outbursts like that are kept hidden for a long time and then happen. But you can limit the damage they can do by limiting access to guns. Red flag laws are for households. When you have a younger guy, in particular, mostly guys, have access to a gun, you can have them taken out of the household if that kid has a problem, like the Highland Park shooter, for example, or in the case of these other folks, you make sure people are more mature before they have basically a pipe bomb you can reload and walk around, which is what an AR-15 is.
And they don't kill everyone.
I understand, sir, but I want to go to Congresswoman Demings for 60 seconds.
You know, people who are the families of victims of gun violence just heard that, and they're asking themselves, what in the hell did he just say? Senator, you used the Pulse nightclub shooting as your inspiration to run again for the Senate in 2016. Pulse is in my district. And yet, you've done nothing to help address gun violence and get dangerous weapons out of the hands of dangerous people. Florida, after Parkland, after you made promises that you had no intentions on keeping to the parents of Parkland, Florida passed legislation raising the age to have an assault weapon, passed red flag laws that we've seen 7,000 plus instances where they've been used now. Our primary responsibility is the safety of Floridians. And Senator, 24 years in elected office, and you have not yet risen to that occasion. And then when asked about it, you say something that makes no sense.
All right, Congressman, thank you.
Oh, God damn.
Senator, 30-second rebuttal from you.
Yeah, what makes no sense is that we're going to actually pass laws that only law-abiding people will follow and criminals will continue to violate.
No, because red flag laws and sales laws, You could keep people from selling them. These people bought them legally, fuckhead.
The truth of the matter
teenagers who are going to go on school shooting sprees don't have access to the illegal gun market.
is, at the end of the day, that Americans have a Second Amendment right to protect themselves. They have, and these killers that are out there, if
Yes, and you don't need 30 rounds to protect yourself. If you do, you're shooting cops.
they're intent on killing as they are, they have found multiple ways to get a hold of weapons and cause mass destruction. Just the other day, he used a shotgun, which wouldn't have been covered by any of these restrictions. I have a bipartisan...
Yeah, but it limits how many rounds you can fire, how much ammo you can carry in the fucking thing, how long you can continue before you have to reload. The same... Oh, fuck's
red
sake.
flag law, sponsored with Senator Jack Reed. But the problem is that the leftists in the Senate and in the House, like Congresswoman Demings, are against it because they want the California red flag law that allows your coworker has a grudge against you and can go to a judge and take away your guns. That I'll never support.
That's the 30. I'm going to overlook Senator-elect Demings. We're going to just blow
I didn't
by
say
that.
elect. I said Senate and then
No,
I said
Congresswoman Demings.
Oh, he called her Senator-elect. Ouch.
Thank you. Look, every time we talk about responsible gun ownership and legislation that could help protect lives, you pull the Second Amendment out. My father was a gun owner. It has nothing to do with the Second Amendment. This is about taking dangerous guns out of the hands of dangerous people. And the overwhelming majority of people in our nation want us to do just that. How long will you watch people being gunned down in first grade, fourth grade, high school, college, church, synagogue, a grocery store, a movie theater, a mall, and a nightclub,
Congresswoman,
and do nothing?
That is time. I want to give you 30 more seconds.
God damn. Val Demings.
Second, Senator.
Well, everything she's for would have done nothing to stop any of these shootings.
Yes, they would have. She just said, like, the red flag laws alone, which he arguably supports, have stopped like 7,000 people from having shit.
Every one of these shooters would have passed the background check that
No, they wouldn't have. And if they'd had access, they might have passed the background check on a handgun, but they sure as fuck wouldn't have gotten a 30-round magazine and an AR-15, you dumb motherfucker.
Keeps insisting on. No one here is in favor of mass shootings and violence. And that's why...
Taking a strong political stance.
She says we did nothing. That's not accurate. The truth, today, you go to the Department of Homeland Security website, and there's a clearinghouse. She's going to mock it. She shouldn't, because the idea came from a Parkland father. And there's a clearinghouse there that basically tells schools, for example, this is what works for safety and this is what doesn't. And we got that put in there. You know who's trying to take that down?
Who's
the
we?
Biden administration. Because they say that to have a school safety clearinghouse is discriminatory against minority students.
30 more seconds,
Clearinghouse is
Congresswoman.
fine. But Senator Rubio thought that he could reduce this very critical issue to supporting a clearinghouse on the Homeland Security website. And he thought he would get a pass for the mass shootings that we've had in our state and doing nothing significant to do anything about it. Your primary responsibility, Senator, is to protect the safety of the people that you represent.
We just passed a bill they wanted, and there was a shooting a week later, and a week after that.
Why do
Oh, dear Lord.
we just stop arresting murderers?
The
then,
only
since
people
we
that follow
can't
these
find
laws
them
are
all?
law-abiding citizens.
A rapist,
We're out
a
of time on
robber.
this issue, and in this half of this debate, we've reached halftime, and it is brief. So everybody stay tuned. We have many more issues to get to. You are watching Decision 2022, the U.S. Senate debate for Florida.
Luckily, because I stop and start, we can just zip ahead.
This week, we touched on a lot of very important emotional issues, and there are many more in this half hour. Senator Rubio, I want to direct this next question to you. This week, the Biden administration changed its policy. Now, Venezuelans who cross the southern border will be sent back to Mexico and banned from ever applying for asylum in this country. Do you support that?
You mean Joe Biden just instituted Trump's return to Mexico policy?
There's more to it, but it's
Well,
the
there's
ban
not
on
more
ever
to it.
applying.
That's exactly what he did. Look, Congresswoman Demings says that what's happening at the border is nothing unusual. We have 5,000 people a day crossing the border. You know how many people have entered our country illegally since Joe Biden took over as president? 5 million.
Bullshit. Recidivism factors 3 times as much as in 2018, for example. Same people crossing multiple times. They keep getting batted back out. He used the 5 million have crossed because that's not how many people have actually come into the country.
You know how many have entered this country just in the last 12 months? 2 million.
How many were sent back? All of them.
80 of them on the terror watch list. At least, according to the
How do we know? Did we catch them?
most generous numbers, at least 1%, meaning 20,000, with serious criminal violations in their record. No country in the world, no one has done more on the issue of Venezuela than I have, and Cuba, and Nicaragua. I sympathize deeply with everything these people are facing, and I blame Maduro for that. But there's no country in the world that can tolerate or permit or afford 5,000 people a day arriving at your border, saying the magic words, and getting asylum. And she says
they don't.
That's not a problem. She says there's nothing unusual about it. This cannot continue.
What she means is same people, same numbers as 2018. We've dealt with this before. We'll deal with it again.
It has to be fixed. He needs not just to do that. That needs to happen with everyone that's trying to come across, or we're going to have 10,000 people a day coming, and we can't afford. No country in the world can tolerate that.
That's time. Congresswoman, I want to give you, this is not a rebuttal. This is the entire 60 seconds as we continue this discussion. And I want to ask you about solutions. Specifically, what solutions do you have for solving the crisis at our southern border?
We are a nation of laws. I've enforced them for 27 years. Despite what the senator wants you to
Thanks,
believe,
Catholic Rose.
He's living in fantasy land. I've enforced them. And we need to make sure that the men and women at the borders have the resources that they need. I am a fan of boots on the ground. Let's have more boots on the ground, but let's also hire more processors so that we can separate those who need to be arrested from those who are seeking asylum. We're a nation of laws, but we have to enforce the law, but we also obey the law that says people who are in trouble can seek asylum in this country. And so more boots on the ground, more technology, more processors. Let's secure our border. The senator likes to talk about open borders. It's almost an insult to the men and women who are there securing the border. But let's get more agents to help at the border. We can do this.
If I may respond to that. Number one, the only one who's insulted the people working the border are Joe Biden and Democrats who accused them of whipping Haitian migrants, and that turned out not to be true.
No. They were whipping Haitian migrants. They weren't using whips to do it. The guy was using the bridle of his horse to do it. The question wasn't whether he was whipping people. The question was it a whip? Fuck off.
Number two, she opposed the border wall. She supported this thing called the People's Budget, which I call the crazy people's budget because it had a bunch of crazy stuff in it. Even Charlie Crist voted against it. And that absolutely zeroed out and banned border funding. She talks about more processors. I want you to think about what that
I thought Mexico was supposed to pay for that. Never mind.
means. What that means is now, when someone crosses the border, turns himself in, claims asylum, they're usually held in detention for 2 to 3 days while they process it. What she's arguing is, let's hire more processors so we can get them through faster. So we can push people through instead of 1 day to 3 day detention,
Let me stop
no day
you there,
detention.
Senator,
This can't continue. We have to stop.
Let's ask the...
Again, if you can figure it out in a fucking day, they go back in a day. What the hell's the difference? She's not asking for like lower res people. That's weird.
Respond to that. You have 30 seconds, Congresswoman.
If we have more processors and they don't meet the standard for asylum seekers, you send them back. Yes, we need to secure our border more. I think we can do that with technology, more boots on the ground, and more people to process those who need to be turned back.
Comprehensive
those who are
immigration
breaking
reform.
the law from those who are asylum seekers. Senator, enforce the law, but also obey the law
Which boots,
as well.
which boots does she want on the ground? She was against National Guard deployment. They demonized the Border Patrol. And they talk about
More Border Patrol volume. And again, notice he's against National Guard because they don't want troops on the border shooting at people. And CPB, she's talking about those processors and tech people.
Who are you talking about, Senator?
Well, your party.
Who demonized the...
You have, and your party has,
That's a
Congresswoman.
lie.
Absolutely
Look,
true.
look,
And let me tell you something else that they've done.
Look,
Here's the other thing they've done. They talk about more processors.
Would you be willing to do anything to win, Senator?
They talk about more processors. Okay, so people,
That is-
everybody,
you're
the
just-
Biden administration,
you're
all you have to
making
do
it
is
up.
say the
At this
magic
point,
words.
You're making
at this
it up.
point,
Stop.
this
No,
has
look,
devolved.
stop
I want to move on to the next
The
issue here,
traffickers give you
Senator.
the magic
Just
words. You
stop.
say and they let you in.
Congresswoman,
More processors.
Fuck you. The traffickers, you say the magic word and they let you in. Whoa.
I am forced to move on at
How
this time.
gullible do you think people are?
The next
Stop.
question is going to come from Vicki Seshery from Florida Trends Magazine. Vicki?
Representative Demings, last year you backed legislation that increased Social Security benefits and would require high-wage earners to pay more in Social Security taxes. Why should Congress raise taxes to pay for a broken system?
Well, number one, we have to think about what the promise of Social Security was. It was to keep our seniors out of poverty. And you know, being in elected office and the critical position of being a United States Senator, it is about making choices to protect people. I believe that we've got to do everything within our power to protect those who have had to go to work every day and deserve to be able to retire with dignity and respect. Governing is about priorities, and Social Security and protecting it is a priority for me. I'm not going to sacrifice it.
Agreed, Otis. I don't know why that lady gets
to do whatever that
she gets
is
to just say it's broken as a system, and
Follow-up question for
That's,
Senator Rubio.
it's a false premise.
Florida's junior senator Rick Scott proposed 11-point plan to rescue America requires, quote, all federal legislation to sunset in 5 years. If a law is worth keeping, Congress can pass it again, Senator Scott says. That includes Medicare, Social Security, and VA benefits. Do you support putting these federal entitlements on a chopping block every 5 years?
No.
Not
That's
entitlements.
not my plan. That's Senator Scott. He's doing a great job. He's not very shy. You should ask him. He's more than happy to talk to you about his plan. I can tell you, on the other hand, if you want to talk about radical plans, Congresswoman Demings supported a radical plan. I already mentioned earlier the people's budget. Let me tell you the other gems in that budget. It raised $9 trillion in taxes. $9 trillion in taxes. I already told you about the $10.25
over 10 years
tax on a barrel of oil, which would have meant a 35-cent increase on the gas prices you're already paying
foreign oil.
right now. Let me tell you.
Pretty sure foreign oil.
Tell you what else it did. It zeroed out the war on terror. It took $1 billion out of the Pentagon. This is crazy stuff.
$1 billion. $1 billion out of the Pentagon. Out of the budget that's gone up by $30 billion 2 years in a row. $1 billion.
And that's not a plan. She voted for it. She didn't just put her name on it. She actually voted for the crazy people's budget, a socialist budget. She voted for it. I don't even know if she remembers she voted for it.
I hadn't seen the socialist budget.
Well, you voted for the people's budget, and it's a socialist budget. Trust me when I tell you that any budget that zeroes out the war on terror, takes $1 trillion out of the Pentagon, okay, raises
Oh, it's now $1 trillion.
taxes by $8 trillion on working Americans, is a socialist budget.
I thought it was $7 trillion.
She didn't just have her name on it, she voted for it.
That's your time. Congresswoman Demings, 30 seconds to you.
Senator, you're repeating yourself again. We've seen this show before. Socialists, crazy, Marxist, silly.
But which one
that
does she
must be
prefer?
on your list for your talking points. The bottom line is you said that Rick Scott's plan, it's good to have good ideas. You did not say that you did not support it. I hear you saying that tonight, but when you were first asked about his plan, you said, I think it's good to have good ideas. You remember that?
Congresswoman, Senator, you can respond.
Yeah, that's Rick Scott's plan. He can defend it, he can talk about it. Her name was on that.
The question
people's
was,
budget.
what do you think
the
about
people's budget? The people's budget had her name on it. She was not just a co-sponsor 2 years in a row. She voted for it. There's never been a vote on Rick Scott's budget. She voted for this thing. $8 trillion in taxes.
The question is, would you vote for it? And he will.
Right? You talk about all the other things that were in there. A $10.25 tax on a barrel of oil so that your prices go up by 35 cents. I don't know what word you prefer, socialist, Marxist, crazy. I don't know. I'm open to suggestions about how we
Congresswoman
describe
Demings,
such a nutty idea
Senator,
that would
that's
destroy
your
the country.
time. Congresswoman Demings.
He's talking about the barrel of oil again.
Yeah, everyone's talking about the barrel of oil these days.
Look, you've been in elected office in Florida for 24 years. And what we have been left with is skyrocketing property insurance, lack of affordable.
Hold on. Somebody's saying in there, sorry for the all caps, for anyone else thinking we might be looking at our first female POTUS. It's possible. I mean, I wouldn't rule out Stacey Abrams beating her to it, but I was, if you'll recall, I knew Kamala Harris would be the running mate for Joe Biden, but Val Demings was my first choice. I just knew she was too new to it for what they needed to do, and as far as what the voting block was, where they would rather have her because of how she could serve better. As a senator in particular, because that's the line she's on. And I think there's a very strong chance she'll end up being VP and then possibly a president at one point. I wouldn't rule that out at all.
Housing, health care, gone through the roof. We haven't expanded Medicaid. People are hurting. And you know what, Senator? When I talk to your voters around the state, you know what they say? They don't know what you stand for.
All right, Congresswoman, that's your time, and I'm going to move on to the next. We've spent a considerable amount of time. I thank you both. I know this had a lot to discuss, but let's move on.
All right.
Yeah, he's ready.
Congresswoman, this is going to go first to you. President Biden says the world is closer to nuclear Armageddon than at any time since the Cuban Missile Crisis exactly 60 years ago this month. 3 times in the last week, Vladimir Putin ordered Russian missile attacks on Ukrainian cities, targeting and killing civilians. If Russia next fires a limited-range tactical nuclear device at Ukraine, or strikes a NATO ally like Poland, even with a conventional weapon, what's the correct response by the Biden White House and NATO?
Well, we have to hold those who are not our friends accountable. And Senator, that does include Russia. It's not just China. Russia has attacked our Ukraine, our friend Ukraine, what they thought was going to be over in a few days, as you know, has been going on for almost a year. We have to continue to support Ukraine and our NATO allies. Of course, we've got to hold Russia accountable. We always use diplomacy around the NATO table. We cannot afford to have a nuclear attack. And the United States has to do everything in its power to prevent that from happening.
Senator, same question to you.
Well, on the first point about Vladimir Putin, I was against Vladimir Putin before being against Vladimir Putin was cool. I mean,
and then he stopped.
And I remember that very well because Hillary Clinton and the Obama administration.
You were also against Donald Trump before, oh well.
Administration tried to reset relations with him. Now, I'm not sure the president had to do it over again. He would choose the words Armageddon or Cuban Missile Crisis, but there's no doubt about this. Vladimir Putin is losing this war, and if he loses the war, he'll lose his position. And you know, I don't think the retirement plan for former Russian dictator presidents is a very good one. So I think he's very concerned about that. So I do think we have to be very wary, and I've warned about this from the beginning, about what he might do to escalate. One is the use of a tactical weapon, which is not a strategic weapon. We're not talking about him launching a missile against Chicago or New York, but we are talking about the use of artillery shells and short-range missiles in the battlefield, which would be unprecedented. And I think the response to that has to be a unified response that perhaps takes out what it is that launched those and where those were launched from. I think the likelier scenario, and the one that really is concerning, is that he would attack, for example, an airport in Poland. At that point, NATO would have to come together and decide whether they're going to invoke Article 5, and the United States needs to live up to its NATO commitments.
Let me ask the Congresswoman, to that point, the NATO response, we know what the NATO charter says. Poland's attacked, as the senator's scenario says, perhaps the airport. What is the response from the United States as well as NATO?
We have to do everything within our power to protect our NATO allies. Everything within our power. If Poland is attacked, then there has to be an immediate response. And I believe between our military and the Department of Defense and our experts and our intelligence community, based on the intelligence on the ground, I believe that that response will be sufficient and swift, but we've got to leave it in the hands of the people who are there and the people who are involved in this every day, with the ultimate goal of keeping America safe and keeping our allies, our NATO friends safe.
All right, Senator, I have 30 more.
Basically the same thing. She's just saying it without the Article 5 language.
Well, just to add, I think the response needs to be proportional. And that, what I mean by that is that the NATO alliance will have to meet, and this can't be unilateral. The NATO alliance will have to meet and decide what is a proportional response.
Yeah, that's what she was saying too. The people who do it every day, meaning DOD and NATO and the intelligence community meeting together, and yeah.
And that would depend on the nature and level.
Same answer. They're just out jargoning each other right now.
But it has to be an allied response, not simply a U.S. one. That's what's most critical here. It's not anything at our disposal because we're not talking about the use of strategic weapons or starting World War III, but there needs to be one. I would argue to you tonight that they've already attacked NATO because the Nord Stream pipeline underwater that supplies Germany from Russia has been bombed. It was bombed, and everyone's wondering, I saw a news report, well, they're saying Russia may have done it. Well, who else did it? Luxembourg, Belgium?
Senator, can you wrap this up in 10 seconds? I need to move on.
All right.
Look at that. See that? We can all agree on something. That they both agree on the response, and I agree with Rubio that it was the Russians. And by the way, did anybody see the pictures that I posted that the Swedes put up? That that was pictures of the pipeline that exploded out. You're welcome. Not in, not this way, out.
Good?
Yep.
All right, I want to go back to Rick Christie from the Palm Beach Post. Rick?
Basically, they agree on this. This part of, like, U.S. Senate, there's ubiquity across this point. Like, that's, everybody agrees.
Congresswoman Demings, Senator Rubio has called Democrats' attempts to pass a new federal voting rights law an effort to, quote, ram through an election law to make sure you never lose power, to make it easier for Democrats to win. Why are new federal protections of voting rights needed?
Well, let me say this. I'm not the person standing on the stage who supports suppressing the right to vote. Look, I can think about the words of my friend and former colleague, John Lewis, who said the right to vote is precious, that is almost sacred. And the senator thinks that we should leave that up to the states. Well, we tried that with voting rights, and we know the bad actors who did some ungodly things to stop people from voting. So we should not just protect the right for a few people or the privileged few, we should protect voting rights for everyone. And we need a federal law to keep everybody accountable. The John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act is sitting in the Senate right now, waiting for a vote. The Freedom to Vote Act, which will help protect the right to vote for all people, is sitting in the Senate right now, waiting for a vote.
By the way, let me show you real quick. This is what I was talking about. So this is the part that's there. See how it bubbles out? And see how it folds back? That's the inside of the pipeline folding out. Just saying. See that? That is not a dent going in. That's not a crevice on that. That is folded metal going back outside. That's my feeling on it. I don't get too 9/11 truther about it, but there's where it comes from.
Duty and responsibility to allow the people to vote.
That's time. Rick, I know you have another question.
This question is for you, Senator Rubio. In January, you wrote in The Federalist that Democrats' push for voting rights is about, again, quote, exaggerated problems and imaginary fears, unquote. Can you give us specifics on what you mean by that?
Sure. It's never been easier to vote.
I'm sorry?
It's never been easier to vote. It's never been easier to vote. In Florida, you can now vote by mail for any reason. You can vote, for example, 10 days before the election. You can vote on Election Day. In Georgia...
All because of Democrats making that happen, by the way, and Republicans fighting it all the way.
Which they claim to be the place that was suppressing all the votes. You had record African-American voter turnout. To compare what's happening now to the Jim Crow era, where people were literally murdered, where people were forced to take poll taxes and pay poll taxes and literacy tests, what are we talking about here? We're talking...
Well, if you have a state ID and you must have a picture ID from the state that can be taken away or that costs something, if you have to pay to get your state ID, that's a poll tax. If you're going to be allowed to have to pay for a state ID in order to vote, then you can legally be forced to pay other poll taxes because the legal precedent has already been established.
We're talking about this. We're talking about, number one, when you go vote, you show an ID. I have been a Hispanic man my entire life. I'm a minority. I've never felt like producing an ID disadvantages my ability to vote. Everyone has an ID. You can't even check into a hotel. You can't buy Sudafed at Walgreens without an ID.
Yeah, but you don't have a right to Sudafed and you don't have a right to stay in a hotel.
That's number one. Number two is you can't collect a bunch of ballots. Harvesting of ballots. Cars showing up with tons of ballots sitting in the trunk of a car.
That's a big car.
Things like that they want to force down the throat of every state in the country. We don't need that federal law imposed on every state. Florida has very good election laws, and other states have very good election laws. And the states that don't have very good election laws are the states that actually have gone in the opposite direction of weakening security for the ballot.
All right, Senator, thank you. Congressman, I want to go back to you for 60 seconds.
Florida has an election law police force, and if the laws are so wonderful, what's the need for that? Florida also eliminated the number of drop boxes from 2020. Why do that, particularly in certain areas, Senator? Your job is to make sure that every person votes. the ones who may vote for you and the ones who may not vote for you. That is your responsibility. So if it's so perfect, why the adjustments? We need to hold states accountable to make sure every person, although that scares the senator to death, has the right, the precious right, to cast their vote.
Senator.
Yeah, I'm trying to suppress the vote, and I'm wasting a lot of money telling people to go out and vote, because that's what my campaign has been all about. Number
Every campaign says vote for me. That's not the same thing.
two, I've never supported any suppression effort. Listen, we've had laws in this state. How come all of a sudden a drop box is the standard by which we judge whether people are being allowed to vote or not? We didn't have drop boxes 10 years ago. We didn't have drop boxes in 2016 when the Congresswoman was first elected to Congress. We didn't have drop boxes in 2012 when Barack Obama won the state of Florida.
Yes, and turnout has always been muted because of it.
Running for president. That's a method of voting that doesn't advantage one group or another. There's danger involved in drop boxes. People need to think about it. Okay, imagine someone decides, oh, there's a drop box. I'm just going to put some explosive in it and blow it up and burn all of those ballots, and now those votes don't count at all. Okay, there is something with elections. There are two things that are very important.
Yes, and what if someone opens fire on a polling place and everyone there is killed and we don't know how they would have voted and all those? Yes, what if a nuclear explosion goes off in a shrimp and crab restaurant in downtown Palm Beach and no one knows whether or not those people ever got their orders, much less how they would have voted in the rest of the elections, the rest of their fucking lives?
Number one, the count has to be accurate. The votes have to be counted accurately. But the other is there has to be public confidence. The public has to believe that the elections were
He means Republicans.
fair and balanced. And that's what I've always been in favor of. But what they want is a federal takeover of the election.
Fair and balanced elections? Elections aren't balanced. There's a winner.
I do not want
That is the very description of being out of
a
balance.
federal takeover of our election system. I oppose it.
That's time, Senator. Congresswoman.
That's nonsense. That we want a federal takeover. We passed the Voting Rights Advancement Act in the House of Representatives because of the unbelievable voter suppression efforts that were going on by the senator and his party.
Well, which voter
Let
suppression vote is that?
people vote. That's nonsense, what he just said. We want every person to vote. And Senator, we've been busy too, encouraging people to vote. It doesn't threaten me. It doesn't scare me to let the people vote.
And that's time. I want to move on to another issue.
By the way, she could really help herself by saying every citizen vote instead of saying people, because people like the right wing and Rubio supporters all think she means like anybody who's in the country legally or illegally. It's really important to Democrats to check that phraseology just to knock that out. So just say citizens, every citizen, every Floridian, that kind of thing. If she says Floridian or citizen, that'll cover it.
We are coming close.
Thanks,
to the
Ann.
end of the day.
Hi.
I want to make sure you both get.
And enjoy Belfast, Ireland. It's my island.
All your time for closing statements. This is going to go to you first, Congresswoman. The Biden National Security Plan identifies Russia as an imminent danger and China as the greatest long-term threat. Given President Xi's comments Monday that included threats to Taiwan, what should U.S. policy be with China moving forward from here?
We've got to hold China accountable. We've got to hold them accountable for the violations of our intellectual property. We've got to hold them accountable for, look, the bottom line is the United States is the world power. We're the most powerful nation in the world. We know that China has not been the best player, the best actor, and we have to hold them accountable. What President Xi said about possibly taking Taiwan by force, that is totally against our principles and our values. And we have to take action if there's any serious effort to do that. Look, I serve on the Intelligence Committee as well as the Senator does. That is something that we have been monitoring just about every day. If China makes any aggressive actions, deliberate actions to take Taiwan, then there has to be a response from the United States.
Senator?
Yeah, first of all, I would say that there's a fact, every major anti-China proposal that has been voted on in the last
Anti-China proposal. Interesting
5
language.
years have been my bill. So much so that China has actually sanctioned and banned me. And I was very upset about that because I had to cancel my vacation in Wuhan. So, but all kidding aside.
Was he, though?
The 21st century will be defined by the relationship between the United States and China.
No, it won't.
We wasted 20 years thinking that once China got rich and prosperous, they would become like us. And we woke up into a world where they don't want to become like us. They want to replace us. We made one mistake. Number one.
Also, again, both of them agree. A lot of this is just how they phrase it.
One, we allowed American manufacturing to leave this country.
2022. Whoops. What the fuck? Hold on. Did I accidentally hit?
And my opponent has been in Congress. Because the Chinese have cut us off.
And then I
we
need
can't
to
get
stop
gas
you
because
there.
they
I
have
need to
all the
cut you off,
refineries.
Senator. 15 more seconds to the Congress.
Hold on 1 second. Back up.
National security expert, all he wants. I know he needs that for his next presidential run.
Congresswoman, I need to stop you there, and I want to give, because you mentioned the senator, another 30 seconds to the senator.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what she means by play national security expert. I'm the vice chairman of the Intelligence Committee and was the previous chairman of it, so it's actually my job. But the second thing I would say is...
Whoop! Yeah, because he's in the Senate, silly.
I think...
Why are you the vice? Oh, because you guys lost last time.
Holding China accountable, that's a talking point. I get it. I'm supporting the concept. It's a great banner. I'm sure it's a good bumper sticker. But it's not a plan. I actually have a detailed plan for how you address it. And one of the things we have to do, you want to hold China accountable, fix this country first. Make things in America again. Because you think things are bad.
Yeah, Biden's doing that. Next.
Bad now. Imagine the day you wake up and realize we can't get medicine because the Chinese have cut us off.
No. India makes more of the pharmaceuticals. China, we don't get pharmaceuticals from China.
And then I
We
need
can't
to
get
stop
gas
you
because
there.
they
I
have
need to
all the
cut you off,
refineries.
Senator.
We can't get gas because they have all the refineries. Fucking hell.
15 more seconds to the
Senator voted
Congresswoman.
against the CHIPS Act. He goes around the state talking a lot about our dependency on China because of semiconductors, and then he voted against the CHIPS Act. That would help further America's independence.
And that is time for both of you because you're going to get your...
Yeah, final dunk. That was rock solid.
It's a gift. Full time for closing statements. Senator Rubio, floor is yours.
Well, thank you for hosting this debate tonight. I'm glad people got a chance to see that elections are about a choice. Look, I've been
And I'm pro-choice in this one area.
in Washington now for 2 terms in the Senate, and in the 2 terms I've been there, no U.S. senator has gotten more done than I have. Today, parents in Florida whose child have pediatric cancer will have options because I took on the pharmaceutical companies and passed the bill that forced that. The child tax credit doubled because I...
Does he mean the second chance? The right to try? So they can experiment on terminally ill kids? All
passed
right.
the bill that did that. Veterans that were exposed to toxic burn pits will now get treatment at the VA and not have to fight with the VA.
Oh, fuck you! This is a Democratic bill.
Because we just passed a bill that I sponsored.
We.
All of these bipartisan to make that happen. And
Yeah, he's sponsored. He was a co-sponsor on it.
millions of American small businesses and millions of American small business jobs were saved because of a bill we passed. And so I'm asking for a chance to continue that work because I have a record of not just identifying the problems, but fixing it. And my opponent has been in Congress now for half a decade and has never passed a...
Half a decade. Two congressional terms. Congressional terms. He means 4 years.
single piece of legislation into law, not one. The only thing...
And by the way, her bills turned into amendments they attached on to other laws. It's the same fucking thing. There's a distinction without a difference. He's being an asshole.
She does is vote 100% with Pelosi. The vote is clear, and I'm asking voters for their support. Thank you.
Right on time, Senator. Congresswoman Demings.
That was, yeah, I feel sweaty too.
Todd, I wasn't going to start my closing arguments with the last couple of things the senator said were just not true. And let me say this. I stand on this stage tonight as the daughter of a maid and a janitor. Had the awesome honor of being the first in my family to graduate college, served at the police department, worked my way up through the ranks to become the chief of police, serving in the House and now running for the Senate. Only in America is my story possible. I just happen to believe that every person, regardless of who they are, deserves the opportunity to succeed, deserves the opportunity to make it. The senator will pick and choose winners and losers based on their ability to pay to play. He talked about pharmaceuticals. He voted against legislation that would help reduce the cost of prescription drugs and help cap the cost of insulin.
Oh, why? Just like a dunk right at the line. 3-pointer, mid-court, blind over the shoulder, 3-pointer.
It's time. Senator, Congressman, thank you both so much for participating in this. We want to thank our audience across the state of Florida and on the internet right now for this. This will also be rebroadcast on C-SPAN. Election Day is November 8th, and early voting begins next week. Thanks for watching. Good night.
Cool. Hey, thanks for hanging in there with me tonight, by the way, guys, and watching this. I think this is a really important thing for us to check out these debates. Like the senatorial debates are the ones that are going to get the most attention. I'll see if I can grab another one in the coming days. I think Val did very well tonight. Really great. And again, across the board, she is. I mean, she's a very smart woman and rock solid. She'd be a great senator, no question. And the only note I will give to Democrats is when we're talking about voting, hammer the word citizen, because they will use when we talk about let the people vote and people should be able to vote, we mean citizens, but they're going to use that as if we don't mean citizens. So it's very important to hit that note and nip that argument in the bud right away. Other than that, I would say she was flawless throughout. And the voting against the CHIPS Act, calling him out for that, and voting against the cap on insulin and on allowing Medicare and Medicaid to negotiate prices. I mean, those are just slam dunks. So excellent work on her part, and excellent work on your part hanging out tonight. Look at that. We're almost like right in time, and I got to go get in my car and drive to LA because I got a show tomorrow night at Flappers for all our patrons who want to live stream it. Join me tomorrow, and if you're in the area, of course, and you're a patron, you can come for and bring a guest for free to any of my live stand-up shows. And then of course and then I'm going to come back after the show tomorrow night. I'll be here Thursday, regular show. Friday, regular show, and then Friday night I'm driving back to LA, or I might fly in the morning really early before radio. We'll see. It's easier if I go in, anyways. To do the Sexy Liberal show on Saturday night, and then next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I will be doing the show on the road as well. And if I have to shuffle some of the times around on the Monday, Tuesday show, I'll let you guys know if that's necessary at all. So wish me luck. And anyways, much love. And I got to go hop in a car and say goodbye to the kitties because I think they're going to leave in like half an hour. So I get to go pet them one last time. So hold on. Let me see if... Hold on. Babe? Babe? Do you still have the kittens? Can I see one before they go? Can I show them? I don't know which one. Okay, hold on. We're gonna fly in one of the kittens real quick before I sign off. By the way, again, Jet, man, thanks for the headphones. I've been using these for the last couple of days. It's been a godsend. Thank you. It was a lovely gift. Really helpful. So I keep them on the desk, always plugged in, so they're ready to go, and just pop them in my ears and do the show. And they've been, so far, spectacular. So right on. Mandy's going to be there Saturday. Excellent. And of course, by the way, if you can't be at the show, at the Sexy Liberal show, you can always watch it via the live stream. We're gonna live stream it. So go to sexyliberal.com/tour and you can get tickets to watch the live stream there, and you can watch it for a month after. So if you get it and then you can't watch it live that night, you got a month to watch it. I will try and do a couple of jokes that aren't too timely, so they'll still be funny the following Wednesday. So, Gizmo. Hi, Gizmo. Oh, I'm sorry, Gizmo. He was just about to eat. Ladies and gentlemen, I present Gizmo. What you doing, buddy? I just fed him right before I started, so. Oh. Hello. Hello, little man. Hello. This is Gizmo. Yeah. Gizmo Kaka. Hi. Which is little boy. He's so sweet. He's a bit rambunctious. He's definitely the alpha of these three. We assume, because we don't know about the fourth one. She's sick, but like we'll see if his dominance carries over once they get reunited. But we're not keeping him. Nope. He's going on. One of Bald Thanos in my chat wants James. Sorry. Thomas the Tank Engine, yeah. He wants Thomas the Tank Engine. Hi, buddy. Hold on. Don't jump down. Hold on.
I know if she has a doctor's yet.
Yeah.
I know. I know,
silly.
I can give you the website.
Hearts Alive, yeah. Is it heartsalive.org?
Hearts Alive Village.
Heartsalivevillage.org. Bald Thanos.
But they have a couple of PetSmarts too.
Right.
So let me find out.
Mm-hmm. We will not feed Gizmo after midnight. We're okay. I know, buddy. What's doing? What's doing?
Yeah, village.org.
Okay. Yeah, heartsalivevillage.org. Gizmo. Oh, that's Chip. Hold on. Oh, Chip. Oh, hi, buddy. Hold on. Yeah, and I'll get you. Come here, Chip. Come here, buddy. Come here. What are you meowing? Oh, you're a lot heavier. You're a lot bigger. Yeah. Hold on. We're going to introduce Chip to... Here you go. Bring him... Hold him. Here you go. Here you go. Oh. There he goes. Hi. Hello. Yeah. Aw. Yeah. He's like, what is he hitting me for? Hi. Hi, buddy. Yeah. He wants to play. Chip, it's okay, buddy. I got you. You're okay. Hi. How you doing, buddy? Chip's my big serval at this point. Hi, buddy. He's like, can I stand on your keyboard? Could I do that? No, because you will collapse the desk. There's already too much heavy shit on it already, young man. My buddy. Hi, my Chipple. Hi, my Chipple. What's buddy? Okay. All right, hop down. There you go. He's like, treat, please. All right. So anyways, much love to you guys. I will see you tomorrow. Philip Bittner will be joining me for the morning show. I'll be doing the afternoon show. And then racing right out the door to get over to Flappers. It's going to be a long, exhausting, comedy-filled day, but I'm very excited to share at least 4 hours of it with you guys, if not 4 and change / 5 or so. So anyways, take care of yourselves, take care of somebody else, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Much love. Thanks, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Give a thumbs up. Support the show. Don't forget you can subscribe on Twitch. Twitch.tv/HalSparks. If you have Amazon Prime, it doesn't cost you a dime. And of course, you can share memberships and all that other stuff. And I will see on my way out the door if I can in any way raid someone. We raided Midas Touch, and hopefully they're grateful about it. Oh, they're there. Yeah. So we're gonna do a raid of Midas Touch from Twitch. If you're on Twitch, I'm gonna send you right over there. Everybody else, enjoy your night, and I will talk to you soon. Take care of yourself. And take care of somebody else. Okay, bye.